Welcome to Anime Recapped. Today I am going over a 2011 to 2012 Japanese anime fantasy series called Fate Zero, covering Season 1. It has been rated 15 and contains spoilers, so please watch responsibly. Set 10 years before the events of Fate Stay Night. 8 years ago in Germany, Kiritsugu Emiya and his wife, Irisfeel Iri von Einsborn, welcomed the birth of their daughter, Iliasfeel. Kirei Kotomine learns 3 years ago that he has been chosen to fight in the Holy Grail War, while his father, Risei, learns he is chosen as the war's moderator. Tokiomi Tosaka, another participant, arranges for Kirei to be his pupil as he plans to use him as a puppet in the war. A year ago, Kari Yamato visited Ai Tosaka and her daughters, Rin and Sakura. He learns shockingly that Sakura has been adopted by the Mato family, as they want an heir that can use magic. Kariya confronts his father Zauken and strikes a deal to implant parasitic worms in himself, which will give him the magic needed to participate in the war. And if he wins the Grail, Sakura will be returned to her family. In the present, Kenneth Meloy Archibald dismisses one of his students, Waver Velvet, who speculates anyone can be a great mage by constant practice, rather than by their bloodline alone. Waver resolves to prove his teacher wrong by stealing his artifact, which is needed to summon a servant to join the war himself. Kirei has summoned his servant assassin, and Tokiomi, Kariya and Waver have each summoned their servants too, being Archer, Berserker and Rider respectively. After receiving the Scabbard of Excalibur, Iri is hopeful that they can summon King Arthur of the Saber class, but Kiritsugu worries that Arthur's chivalry will mismatch with his pragmatic methods. But he summons him anyway, but is stunned to see King Arthur is a woman. Waver has a tough time controlling Rider, but Rider is more interested in the civilization of the world since his time and intends to conquer it once he wins the war. Saber has a poor opinion of Kiritsugu being cold-hearted, but is surprised to see him have a tender moment with his daughter Ilia. Saber admits she admires Kiritsugu and Iri's wishes to save the world, as she too wishes to save Britain. In Fuyuki City, Ruinosuke Uryu, a serial killer, murdered an entire family except a young boy to summon a demon, but unintentionally calls the servant Castor. When Uryu offers the boy to Castor as a sacrifice, he eliminates him in a horrific manner. Uryu, overjoyed to meet someone as sadistic as him, vows to follow Castor anywhere, and becomes his master. After the final master has been chosen, Kirei orders Assassin to kill Tokiomi, but was killed by Tokiomi's servant Archer instead. Due to Assassin's elimination, Kirei announces his withdrawal from the war and is granted protection by Risei. However, this is a ploy by Kirei, Risei, and Tokiomi, as Assassin is not one, but several dozen people. With everyone else believing him out of the game, Kirei can send the assassins to spy on them without suspicion. Waver informs Rider of Assassin's demise, but Rider's only interest is still conquering the world. Saber and Iri arrive at Fuyuki City to meet up with Kiritsugu. Meanwhile, Kiritsugu meets up with his assistant Maya Hisao, who informs him that she has smuggled in the guns they need for the war. At the beach, Iri is having a good time when Saber detects another servant at the harbor. They check it out and encounter Lancer, who challenges Saber to a duel. They complement each other on their skills as they fight. At the same time, Kiritsugu and Maya are scouting the battle. Kiritsugu spots Lancer's hidden master and he is about to snipe him, when Kiritsugu spots Assassin too, who is relaying the battle to Kirei and Tokiomi. Following his master's order, Lancer uses his noble phantasms, Gay Dirk, the anti-magic spear, and Gay Buid, the cursed spear that inflicts unhealable wounds. As Saber recognizes Lancer as Diamuid of the Love Spot, Lancer also discovers Saber's identity after temporarily dispelling the invisibility spell on her sword with Gay Dirk. Saber, wounded by Lancer's Gay Buid, is about to give it her all when Rider, who was watching the battle from afar, interrupts the fight. Rider introduces himself to Lancer and Saber and asks them to join his army, with both declining. Kenneth, Lancer's master, reveals himself and mocks Waver, but Rider defends him. Soon after, Archer and Berserker join the battle. Archer attacks Berserker with his noble phantasm, Gate of Babylon, but Berserker keeps evading and using Archer's weapons against him. Tokiomi orders Archer to withdraw from the battle to prevent him from exposing his noble phantasm further, much to Archer's displeasure. Berserker then goes after Saber after seeing her, and his ability to turn anything he wields into a noble phantasm is revealed. Lancer defends Saber out of consideration, but Kenneth uses a command seal and forces him to assist Berserker. However, Rider incapacitates Berserker and warns Kenneth to withdraw. After they all retreat, Rider tells Saber he will not duel her or Lancer until their duel is finished. Castor watches the battle through a crystal ball elsewhere and thinks Saber is his long-lost love, while Kirei discovers that the church was being spied on by a familiar. Iri and Saber are driving to Einsborn Castle when they encounter Castor. Castor believes Saber is Jeanne d'Arc, but Saber tells him he is mistaken and drives him away. Castor returns to his lair convinced Jean has lost her memories. At his hotel, Kenneth scolds Lancer for failing to kill Saber. When the hotel's occupants are ordered to evacuate, Kenneth realizes Saber's master has come for them. After making sure all civilians have evacuated, Kiritsugu and Maya blow up the hotel using explosives. Kirei finds Maya but escapes thanks to Kiritsugu's smoke bomb. When the assassins inform Kirei, Rise, and Tokiomi that Castor and Uryu have been kidnapping and sacrificing children, Rise is irritated by their pointless murders and putting the war's secrecy in jeopardy. Rise informs all the active masters that the war is to be put on hold until Castor is destroyed, with an additional command spell as a reward. In Ainsburn Castle, despite Saber's protests to focus on Castor, Kiritsugu plans to use the hunt for Castor to attack the other masters. Iri detects Castor arriving from the forest with more children to be sacrificed and sends Saber after him. Saber is ambushed and cornered by Castor's summoned monsters until Lancer appears and joins forces with her. As Iri and Maya leave the castle, Kenneth, who had survived the hotel bombing thanks to his volume and hydrargyrum, a giant magical blob of mercury, infiltrates the castle to duel Kiritsugu. Meanwhile, Iri and Maya are about to escape through the woods, but Iri detects Kirei coming their way. To protect Kiritsugu, Iri and Maya confronted him instead of evading him, but both were outmatched. In the castle, Kiritsugu is able to wound Kenneth. Saber and Lancer continue fighting Castor's waves of demonic creatures, which prove limitless. Saber manages to clear a path for Lancer, who pierces Castor's grimoire, his noble phantasm with Gidirg, cutting off his source of mana and instantly destroying his minions, causing him to flee. After hiding from an enraged and wounded Kenneth, Kiritsugu finally appears and shoots him with his special anti-magic bullets, leading to Kenneth's hydrargyrum not only failing to protect him but amplifying his injury significantly. Lancer arrives to save his unconscious master, while Saber rushes to save Iri from Kirei. Kirei interrogates Iri about Kiritsugu and stabs Iri before fleeing. Iri survives thanks to Saber's magical healing scabbard Avalon implanted inside her, and goes on to heal Maya. When Kenneth wakes up, he learns he cannot use magic again from Sola as his magic circuit has been destroyed by Kiritsugu's bullet. Beholden to Sola's mercy, Kenneth has no choice but to relinquish Lancer's command to her. Kiritsugu fails to listen to Iri and Saber's wishes to stop Castor and decides to hunt Kenneth down instead. Meanwhile, Ryder and Waver manage to find Castor's lair but are horrified to see the mutilated bodies of his victims. Ryder kills an assassin targeting Waver and drives off two more and afterwards sets Castor's lair on fire. With Waver and Ryder now knowing their secret, Tokiomi orders Kirei to send his assassins to spy on them. In another instance, Rin, despite her young age, gets involved in the recent kidnapping and is determined to follow in her father's footsteps as a great mage. With the Holy Grail War starting soon, Tokiomi sends Ai and Rin away for their safety. At Rin's new school, several children, including her best friend Kotomine, have been kidnapped by the Fuyuki serial killer. Wishing to save Kotomine, Rin heads to Fuyuki City alone. She uses a mana detector to find Uryu while using a magic bracelet to hypnotize children. Rin follows him to his hideout but is discovered by him. Rin overloads Uryu's bracelet with mana, destroying it, paralyzing him, and freeing the children. Afterward, Rin heads home only to be ambushed by one of Castor's monsters but is rescued by Karia, who later hands her to Ai. Kirei, who had been spying on them through Assassin, orders him to continue monitoring Karia. Ryder and Waver unexpectedly visit Ainsburn Castle, declaring his intention to have a peaceful discussion with Saber and Archer on the topic of kingship and the wishes they want the Grail to grant. Saber argues a king should serve his people selflessly and wishes to use the Grail's power to save Britain. Their talk is interrupted by the arrival of the assassins, who abruptly reject Ryder's offer to join the feast. Ryder summons his noble phantasm Ionian Hederoi, the armies of Macedonia, composed of his loyal soldiers. Ryder and his army destroy every single assassin. With their meeting over, Ryder tells Saber he no longer sees her as a king and leaves. Before the assassins' annihilation, they provided Tokiomi and Kirei the information about Ryder's noble phantasm. Meanwhile, Maya transports Iri and Saber to their new headquarters, while Kiritsugu reviews his intel about the other contestants' whereabouts. Archer points out that Kirei has shown an unusually large interest in Karia, despite the minimal threat he poses, and from this, Archer concludes that Kirei enjoys watching others go through pain. Though reluctant to acknowledge his dark nature initially, Kirei eventually admits, at which point his command spells reappear, signifying that he is still meant to be a contestant. Since he currently has no servant, Archer suggests that he kill another master and take over their servant. Castor and Uryu return to their lair and are appalled to see their artwork destroyed by Ryder's fire. Castor plans a grand spectacle for God to look upon. Meanwhile, Ryder encourages Waver to believe in himself as a worthy master. Suddenly, Ryder, Waver, Saber, and Eerie sense magic from Mion River. On getting there, they saw Castor summoning a giant demonic monster. They all agree on a temporary alliance to stop Castor before his monster destroys the city. With Ryder leading the vanguard, Saber joins him to give Lancer an opening to use his spears on Castor. And that's season 1 of this anime recapped. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notification and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.